We are live on Facebook. Yes, we are. Let's say we are. Hi, guys.
I see it.
Hey, look at that.
Okay, I'm going to share it.
All right, so because we're all professionals, we're going to take a second to share everything on our other social media pages. So as many people can get out of our circles can come into our circles, right?
Here we go.
Love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just going to share it really quickly. Sorry. Hi, everybody. We're going to get started in just a minute.
Plus, I mean, who tunes in like the instant that something's live anyway, right? You have to click on the page, then you gotta go to find the live video, and so I feel like
I got a Post-it note that says, "Always wait a couple minutes and kill time" at the beginning of any live feed. I had to remind myself.
Oh yeah, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what is this? Episode 6?
7.
No.
Yeah, lucky number 7. 7 weeks.
Episode 7
of.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
The special guests.
That's right. So tonight we host some very special guests on this very special edition of the Pair Podcast. Yeah. So if you're watching this, waiting for us to like get into it, just give us a second. So look, Z is like we're forming some watch groups. This is what happens when things go live, right? Like
one day we'll be super savvy, right? If we were all like 20 years younger, we would have done this already.
I don't know.
I think maybe the next Zoom updates you'll be able to just like jump right into it.
All right, we got some peeps.
Okay.
Oh, but my volume's still on.
Yay.
Classic mistake. Okay.
We're set on our end. You guys set on your end. You ready?
Yeah, I'm just gonna share. I'm trying to share it on.
Here, why don't I just share it on my page? I think it's gonna take you a while.
No, here it is. I see it. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, good.
Hey, I'm slow. I'm not that slow.
And the lag went away, which is good. So.
Well, we're back in Zoom. You may experience, if you're watching this live on Facebook, you may experience some latency. That means that when I'm like jiggling my hands is not the same exact audio sync.
I don't know. It looks pretty good.
All right, I'm muting our browser.
So we're your first Zoom, doing this on Zoom.
This is true. I literally
learning things.
I just purchased the Pro Zoom account so we could do this. But you know what? It's like baby steps, right? Some things force you to do the steps that you knew that you had to do anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trial by fire. This is the theme right now.
All right, is this our official opening? Are we beginning?
Sorry, let's do a clap. You ready?
Yeah. 1,
2, 3, 2, 1. Boom.
Okay, now we know.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Puppet Parent Podcast 7th
episode number 7. Woo, lucky-ish 7, lucky 7.
Yeah, and we are joined by some very special guests, friends of ours, and I almost want to say mentors because we look up to them so much. The amazing Max and his incredible partner / producer, Christine Cox.
Yay, welcome.
Yay.
You are so sweet.
Thank you, guys.
That is very kind of you.
Yes.
I feel like within the entertainment world, we're like cousins, puppeteers and magicians and producers. So how are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, pandemic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, us too.
We're okay. Today was one of those days. Well, first of all, she's been working nonstop all day, and I have been lucky enough to have a couple breaks. So we're at that point where we're really happy to just like sit down and talk to you, other live human beings. So it's really cool. You guys are real people, so it's really nice to see you.
That's awesome. Yeah, on our end, you're the first adults that we've talked to. I
guess that's what I mean.
So yeah, it feels nice to be like, oh, you were also not 5 or 7. So that's amazing.
I waved at a couple of adults at the 7 p.m. clap this evening, but that's about it. They did wave back.
That's
they
nice.
did. New people to wave at. There's always somebody on the roof, but they never see me on the way far roof. But there were people down below. I waved. They waved back. So yeah, 7 p.m. clap, and Astoria is getting louder each night, which is nice.
That's great.
Yeah. Where are you guys at?
We're in Harlem on right at the top west corner of Central Park.
And is there a clap that you can hear? Yeah.
Yeah, there's often a drum line that sort of sounds off, and the horns are honking. And then last week, somebody just started cranking up music as loud as possible.
Like Mexican Tejano music, like really, really loud, as if they were the speakers from his car that somehow were in his living room.
Oh, awesome.
Maybe they are.
Yeah, they were. I'm pretty sure they had to be.
I mean, if you don't turn on your car like, every couple of weeks and drive it around, you might as well put those speakers in your, in your room.
Yeah.
Your car's not going to work.
And it bounced beautifully along the back of all of the buildings and echoed, so it made it like 3 times as loud. It was kind of awesome. Got us moving for a second. We were like, you know what? This guy should tone it down a little bit. And then we were like, or maybe just keep it on for like another 2 minutes.
No, I did hear that same music come on yesterday at about 2:00. And then I just heard someone yell, "Please turn it off." So, and it made me think, it's like, you know what, it is 2:00. It's a Saturday. Sure, it should be okay to have music playing, but it actually isn't that cool when we're all quarantined to play music at your loudest volume in the middle of the, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Not unless it was like a request, like like everyone in the city play your music at the loudest. That's not what's happening.
No,
right
no,
now.
somebody's taking liberties with everyone around it, but that's like a typical New York City thing. It's like if you have like a saxophonist living behind, like underneath you or above you or something, like you're gonna hear them play the saxophone at some point.
True.
Yeah.
It's true.
But also it's spring, so I feel like everybody has their windows open right now. It's going to be a lot different in a month and a half when a lot of us have air conditioners. And then I have concerns about those who don't have air conditioners. I keep thinking about the summer. That's where my brain has been lately a lot, is like, what's the summer going to be like? And then I get stressed about it, and then I have to stop thinking about it. But this is my month to make a plan for the summer if we couldn't stay here. So that's what we're doing this month. Yeah.
What you thinking?
Well, I'm sending out some feelers to Chad's parents live very rurally south of Buffalo, and they have space in their home for us and our cat and our other pets and our kids. But the thing is they don't really have internet. And so that is a problem for my job and then also for the puppetry company. So I'm contacting some people that we know in the small town that's about a 10-minute drive from their house to see if we might be able to rent a space for the summer in a space that they have or that they know of, so that we could have internet, have our shows set up, like go in, do office hours, and then go back to his parents' house.
That would actually give you a nice work-life balance.
Right? It'd be like it'd be the opposite of being trapped in your apartments for however long.
So
and the dudes can play outside too.
Yeah. And so we're gonna. I'm just gonna put out into the universe that that's what we would like to have happen, is to find some kind of space rental in Springville, New York. So
let's not give out their address.
Oh, I'm not giving out their address, but I'm intentioning. I'm the secreting right now. I'm doing that thing. So I just hope that will be a thing.
I actually haven't talked to my parents about that plan yet. So,
no, I know.
So if you're watching out there,
they don't have internet, so they can't.
It sounds like they don't have internet, so they don't know this is happening.
Yeah, but it's like I used to fantasize about leaving New York and going off to some amazing foreign country with like universal health care, but now just like fantasizing about like going out to the country or just leaving the apartment in general and not feeling like panic. Going to the mailbox is gonna kill us or something. You know what I mean? Like, do you ever have like those same kind of panicky feelings?
Yeah, I don't go out. I mean, that's sort of what's been going on, which makes me sort of sad, but absolutely. Like, oh, you don't know what you're gonna touch, right? Or
who's not complying.
Right.
That's today, me and our 2 boys, we have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and we walked to the corner mailbox, which is literally a block away. And just from that walk there and back, the amount of people that I saw not wearing masks, standing way too close to each other. I mean, just even at the deli, alone outside, like at the deli, I couldn't believe how many people were not wearing masks. And I was like, we gotta go home. We gotta go home right now. I'm so sorry. I thought maybe we could go for a walk around the block, but we actually can't. And now we have to go home. And luckily they were really understanding about it, because I have my mask on. Our kids have their masks on, you know, and they're like, yeah, nobody's wearing masks. But it's hard because, or they'll see people wearing a mask, but only like covering their mouth, not covering their nose, you know? So it's confusing for them too, because we're trying to instill like what the rules are. And then if they go outside and see all these other adults not doing it, then they don't feel like it's as important, you know?
Of course.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's so weird because it's hard to convince somebody from the Midwest, no matter your political affiliations, let's say, that it's like the Grim Reaper is waiting outside your door in our city right now. But then you can't even convince your own, the people living in your city. So it's weird.
Yeah.
It is weird.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird.
I found this week to be a little tougher than the other weeks. I don't know. How were you guys doing overall?
What was your week like?
Well, I guess I'll start backwards. So what I figured out last night was that we had just finished our 7th week of lessons. So everything is just based around the lessons. That's kind of when our quarantine started. And Max hit 322 lessons,
Wow.
which just kind of blew us both away. I mean, we knew we've been sort of tracking the number, but then it's like to say it out loud and think, wow, 8 weeks ago.
It's been great. I'm tired hearing that number. That hearing her say that makes me tired.
And for those of us in the audience who maybe aren't familiar with your work, can you just give us a little bit of background about the kind of work you were doing before all this happened, and then what you pivoted to right now?
Absolutely. I'll let Christine talk about the pivot, but essentially, I'm Max Darwin. I'm the amazing Max. Christine Cox, my wife, produces our show. We've been doing it off Broadway consistently for 10 years now. And
Actually 11.
11. See, just gets better. Just gets better and better. 11 years. And then when we're not here doing the show, we typically run the show from Thanksgiving through the winter. And then we go on tour and we do a lot of runouts to different parts of the countries, or tour, link 3 or 4 shows together on tour. And fortunately, we had just finished the main leg of our spring tour right before this started. Our last show was in Des Moines, Iowa, with the Des Moines Civic Center on
February 29th.
February 29th. And we came back, and then it was shutdown time, you know? So fortunately, that we got a lot of those shows in. And while we still had shows canceled and postponed, that was a blessing that we were able to do that. So then we pivoted. We realized when Broadway shut down that we were going to be in for the long haul. I don't know about you guys or when everyone else, kind of when the switch clicked in your head, like, okay, take it really, really serious now. Like, we really need to think about this. Mm-hmm. When they closed Broadway, Christine immediately said, okay, well, we're going to be home, because we run an office. She has an office in Midtown, and they were closing the building. So you were not going to be able to access your office. So that means she's going to be working from home. And that means...
Well, and so in addition to...
So then our pivot, yeah.
So in addition to producing your show, I also,
yes,
in the last 3 years, started an agency where I represent 8 artists. So 9 artists, 8 that are not you.
Yes.
One of which...
I'm only one of 9.
is the lovely couple we're speaking with, Wonder Spark
Puppets.
Yes,
hey,
who are a part of the roster. So,
and podcasters and streamers and
do-it-yourselfers,
master content creators,
tech guru.
People can learn a lot, and no jokes. People can learn a lot from how hard you guys are working and the things you're putting together. But they're not. No one's gonna pay attention.
So
they're just all going to keep waiting till.
So wait, we're going on a tangent.
Okay.
So yes. So then, just to let all the listeners know who don't know, so we took all of Max's live shows and we turned them into private magic lessons. So that was sort of our first step in the pivot, because we just couldn't figure out how we were going to do shows. Max's show is highly interactive, and the one-on-one magic lessons felt like a really great way of the kid being able to have the magic in their own hand. And that what we've come to learn through this process is that it's actually the best way of giving a kid a sense of accomplishment by doing the magic themselves versus just watching Max on the screen do the magic.
The awesome thing that unifies everyone with magic is that by definition, you can't do it. It's a great equalizer. None of the children know how to do the trick unless they've already learned it. So whether they're 7 or they're 11, they're all coming from ground zero, and you don't know what the secret is. So when you learn the secret and you're able to then show someone else who doesn't know, it's not only have you created a picture to share with someone, but you've actually learned something that you've then implemented. So it's gone through that part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, into the amygdala, and I don't know what I'm talking about, but it goes through the part of your brain where they're able to then show it through Zoom to their grandparents or their aunts and uncles or their brother and sister. So
we're answering this question so long. So guys, our week has been pretty good. I think we've hit, and I want to like turn it back to you, but I feel like we've hit a point now where it's been really hard. We're both really tired, but now we're starting to create like a flow chart of sort of what are the next steps in this process.
Which is getting us a little of the creative excitement of back to how are we going to put our energy into that to make those things happen?
And it's scary because a lot of this wasn't anything we had really thought about 8 weeks ago.
Yeah. So
how are you guys?
Well, it's like I'm so glad to hear the idea of like the creative.
We both grab a drink.
There you go. Quarantine time, right? I get my water bottle. You bring anything?
Yeah, where's your beer?
You'll never know what's in here.
You always have a beer. Okay, well, have a mystery drink.
No, I had one last week, and then there was a big discussion about whether or not that was appropriate. So,
no.
But my whole thing about the podcast is that it's for parents. Like, it's a puppet parent podcast, and that it's Sunday night. And if you want to have a glass of wine while we talk about this, I think that is relatable, because everybody is kind of like, as long as you're not imbibing like crazy, and going off the rocker and not able to take care of yourself or your family, then I think it's okay. It's okay to take care of yourself. And for me, self-care means I get to have a beer or a glass of wine or something at the end of the day. So
and I feel like and it's okay. It's okay for your partner to check in on you and make sure that that they let their concerns be float out there. Like I know that sometimes like worrying is like wishing for things you don't want to have happen. But it's like, it's okay to check in with your partner, even if it's like fantastic. Like, look, I know that this isn't going to happen and you're responsible, but let me just tell you how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after the podcast last week, we had a conversation about that, and here we are. And then the next day I bought her a 6-pack.
That's right.
Well,
sounds like you guys found a compromise.
And you might have, before we went live, you might have heard me as I saw Max pour himself a tequila and be like, ooh, like how much tequila?
Well,
like,
she asked me if I wanted a glass of wine, and I said, no, I don't really feel like having a glass of wine.
But, sipping on tequila was like taking it up another level. So
just like Mexico podcast. Come on.
But just like Chad said, you want to
also Cinco de Mayo is Tuesday.
That's right.
Is it Cinco week?
Sure.
Arriba.
So
anyway, it was kind of a hard week for us. I mean, like, it wasn't a bad week. It's just, I think that I think that the situation, at least for me, I can say it got to me a little bit more this week. I'm usually pretty good during the day because we have so much to do and to keep us busy, especially with the kids and their schoolwork. And then I have a day job with the Jim Henson Foundation. And then we have these shows and things. But at night, I was, I don't know, I just started to feel some more anxiety than I had been feeling um, about the amount of death and the numbers and the thing, all the stuff that nobody actually wants to talk about because it's like, depressing.
Yeah.
But I just was feeling, maybe I was just thinking about it too much, but also I can't not think about it because I'm a prepared person. I want to be prepared. And I think knowing that April was ending and May was beginning and like what happened to April. And I think
Seriously.
that was also a feeling for me of like, oh my God, now we're in May. And the idea of summer getting closer, it's also making me feel a lot of concern. Both for our kids, because I don't know how they're gonna do with all of this for that amount of time. And then also, I don't know, maybe this is too much to talk about, but
No.
the thing that I've been thinking about is that a lot of people are leaving the city,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people have left. And then who is left in the city? And the reason
Four
I
of
always,
us.
what's that?
Just us.
Yeah, just
for now.
It's
For
just
now.
the four of us.
That's right. Well, I mean, we get to appreciate all the city has to offer alone.
In our apartments. Yeah.
We're just, yeah. Sorry.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, I don't want to be like wah. It's like
No,
so
I
so
felt
much.
the same way this week, see? So I'm
Yeah.
absolutely, I completely sympathize with you.
I had a meltdown Monday night, and I think probably end of April might have been, I don't think I thought about it in that moment, but looking back, it totally makes sense. It's like, oh, wait, what was May 1st, Friday?
We're hitting these hurdles, right? Like
Right.
these hills and valleys where we get over feeling our anxiety, or at least for me, and then I'll have like a really good run of 3 or 4 days. And then for some reason, I find weekends really challenging. I don't know why. I find something about, well, the one day off that I take off is Tuesday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday are all 4 days of work, balanced with doing other stuff in the evening. But I don't know why. Something about the weekend not feeling like the weekend and just feeling like every other day of the week. I don't know. And I also think for me personally that just, the anxiety is coming up on another hill, as in coming out of a valley, and summer having a lot to do with that. It's 80 degrees outside today, and it's beautiful, and thinking, wow, is this going to be through this weather too?
Well, I'm also really concerned about the mental health of our city, and the people in it. I have continued to watch the governor's daily briefings because I find a lot of information and some solace in them, because they are, as he says, very fact-based. And I don't feel like our federal government is leading anything right now, but I do feel like our state is one of the leaders of taking charge in terms of like what is happening in our entire country. And I can hear it a little bit when he's talking, saying like, you matter, we all matter, we have to take care of each other, because I think that there is a lot of people who might not make it due to mental health issues. And, there was already
in that article, right, about that doctor, the ER doctor.
Yeah, from New York
week?
Presbyterian.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, right?
For those of you who don't know, the head of the emergency room from New York Presbyterian took her own life. And then also just a couple days prior to that, there was a young 23-year-old EMT that took his life down at Astoria Park, which is just a few blocks from where we live. And so, and those are just the ones that we know about, that people wrote articles about. And so it's like a combination of all of these things I'm thinking about, and then it gets late at night and everybody's asleep and it's just me, and I get real sad. So,
and I think another sort of news story that has hit me too is Nick Kudera and all of what he and his wife have been dealing with, and just, they're kind of in our age range for Max and I. And
are you guys familiar with him? He's
No.
the Broadway actor.
Oh, with his leg. Is he the one that lost his leg? Yes.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more about him for those who don't know?
Yeah. He has coronavirus. He had COVID-19 and he was in a coma.
So April 1st, he went in and his wife dropped him off, and they just thought it was going to be sort of a quick thing. And then he called her and said that he had been admitted. So she hasn't seen him since April 1st of when she dropped him off, because then he quickly went into the coma, and
then there was a blood clot issue, right? Or something
right.
with the blood to his leg. So they had to amputate his leg.
Yeah.
And he's still in a coma.
Jeez.
And his family's staying with Zach Braff. I guess they're very close friends. So Zach's been very helpful, and there's been a lot of money raised for the family too. But it hits close to home,
Yeah, and so she's doing at 3:00 every day.
He's 42 and healthy.
41.
41 and healthy.
And so he wrote it's called Live Your Life. So at 3:00, his wife is a fitness instructor and a dancer, and everybody is posting them singing and dancing to his song that he released. And she's, sharing that, and she's doing, I don't know how she does it, honestly. She's going on, and she's got an 18-month-old, I think.
Oh my goodness.
It may be an 8-month-old. All right, people can fact check.
A young child.
A young child in the midst of it all.
Wow.
So not that we want to go down that sad rabbit hole. So we feel, really blessed, but even just what you were saying, Chad, about being a little bit scared to sort of go outside when you start reading stories like that too.
That's crazy. But yeah, I'm feeling a lot less sad and more anger, a lot of like, you start to think about like, okay, really bad things are happening, and then take a look at the people who are supposed to be in charge of certain things. It's like, well, it's real easy to point the finger and be like, well, you are responsible, or you are responsible, and like, how dare you make this worse with your actions, like a lot of the people are saying about the armed protesters in certain states. Like, actually, this is the worst, and what you're doing isn't helping. You're just actually probably killing people with your actions. So today I got an invite, not an open invite, but like an invite to apply to a puppet slam. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take all of this frustration and anger, and I'm going to make a killer slam piece. And even if I don't get into the slam, I'm going to make it anyway. And because I need some catharsis, I need like some release from all this like pent up stuff. And I feel like social media is not a great place for that, because if you post anything that somebody disagrees with at all, like 1% disagree, that they will get in your face about it on social media. But if you make it like a creative platform for your feelings in a real visual way and a visceral way, then I feel like people can get behind that.
And while we perform work for families and stuff, a puppet slam, for those of you who don't know, is a late night short form works for adults. And they happen in theaters all over the country. Do magicians have anything like that?
No, magicians are too egocentric.
You need to come to the puppet world. This is what I always say.
I'd love to come to a puppet slam. Yeah. I would love to. That sounds fun.
Well, there's so many right now.
There's not that I can think of. You know what there is? There's like for people that want something like that, there's conferences, there's magic conferences, but I think that's different. I've actually never been to a single magic conference in my life. And actually that's not true. I went to one. but it's mostly for amateur magicians to take workshops with professional magicians and so forth.
Well, but maybe with magic though, it's not like you guys aren't necessarily developing in the same way where with a puppet slam, they're like developing sort of new
and
words
sharing creative ideas, it sounds like, and being like, well, this is what I've come up with. There really isn't that in the magic world. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot more collaborative. And in the magic world, there's this veil of secrets that some people think that they have to keep. And
well, they should. There are secrets that should be kept.
Well, of course, to an extent. But you know, it is really fun to be able to create and just come up with a piece and share a piece and say, hey, I know I've got this deadline in a month. I'm going to go to this event. I love that idea. A challenge like that. When you have a puppet slam, is there a theme for each puppet slam?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's more like a curated evening of pieces by like a presenter who has selected these companies who have applied with like their ideas. Sometimes it's like a potpourri where it's like, hey, just sign up and you get what you get.
Like an open mic kind of a thing. And yeah. So I like themes, but usually with a theme, it means that it's all new works. So you have a mixed bag. Some of it's really strong and some of it's like, whoo, what is that?
So you always, so the audience has to be drinking in some way. Like you have to have some kind of liquid in your hand, beverage to enjoy. But sometimes you bring something to like a slam and you're testing the words, you're trying something out. And the best slams are like you do like 3 evenings in a row or like 3 sessions in a row. So by the end, you've performed this thing like a bunch of times and try new things each time until like you have like a semi-polished bit. And sometimes that can lead into, you know, like something more or become a part of a show or something. But other times you just fall flat on your face and learn that way too.
So it's like stand up for puppeteers.
Oh, yeah, a little.
Kind of.
I mean, the whole idea is it came from like the term poetry slam, except it's a puppetry slam. So, and they originally started at 2 different theaters in the U.S., the Great Arizona Puppet Theater in Phoenix, and then also Puppet Show Place Theater in Boston. Because I'm a puppet nerd, so I know where all the theaters are.
Wait, is it? Did Rhode Island, though, have a claim to that? Blood from a Turnip, maybe?
Well, no. I mean, Blood from a Turnip was they were OG, but they didn't start it.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it was, I think it was
going to be like, no.
Phoenix who came up with the term slam, but it was the same year Puppet Show Place in Great Arizona Puppet Theater started doing slams, late night short form events.
See, it is the same kind of format as stand-up where you have like a bunch of stand-up comedians usually performing for other stand-up comedians and their friends. But you don't go to a stand-up comic show, I mean, to my knowledge, and see like a really sad piece that's not just like cringe sad, that's like, oh man, it made me feel like feelings.
Most open mics are really sad.
Okay.
In a different way.
I've felt bad feelings at them. But I get what you're saying.
But it could be like, wow, this is like extremely sad, and then the next one's like all comedy, or like maybe there's a music act in between or something. So it's a little bit more like a Coney Island variety show, but you know,
cool.
Yeah.
You need a good MC to kind of lead you into the next thing. But so anyway, there's been a lot of online puppetry slams. So the next one that we're gonna maybe be a part of is a Puppet Show Place, which is one of our favorite puppet theaters in the United States.
Now, once again, I don't know if the artistic director has read my email with my submission yet. So if you're watching this, Roxy, that's right. I sent you an idea. If you think it's crap, just forget about that, and we'll just just develop it independently. So, but I will give a quick plug for there's a national slam.
Oh yeah.
Called like the National Slamdemic, which is happening next Friday, Saturday.
The 7th, I think, or the 9th.
It's coming up, but it's like it's a big deal where you have Bo Brown, who's an incredible host who hosts like weekly or monthly stuff all the time down in Atlanta. He's very great at what he does. And they're bringing in all these heavy hitters from the slam world. There's actually this Puppet Slam Network, and there's actually grants for slams to put on stuff, and that's extending now into the online world. And so like that is kind of like an extension of like a big national well-to-do. It's like, okay, there have been like little slams or like, you know, like great slams, like the Great Small Work Slam that has like tested the waters and shown everybody it can be done. We can do this online.
Well,
We
you
can
mean the
do it
toy
on.
theater festivals?
Yes.
So those it was a slam-ish, but it was, so Great Small Works, which is a company out of New York City, they have been holding these toy theater festivals, which is like creating a small little theater with like paper cutout puppets and telling stories. But people have been taking that and making their own stories, and they've done 4 nights now of amazing variety of toy theater shows from all over the country. And
I know it's called a festival, but it feels like a slam because it's all new work.
Yeah.
And it's all about what's happening now, you know.
So lots of art, lots of really cool art happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should get some links going in the comments.
You want to dump some in there?
Maybe.
Well,
people
yeah.
should check out Puppet Slam Network. That's really the place to go.
Well, what have you guys? So I know you've adjusted your formats to like a 30-minute, like one-on-one session. Do you feel like you've like perfected that now that you've done so many?
Yes. So our little on the flow chart, I you know, we didn't know it at the time, but by doing the one-on-ones, it really gave Max that time to kind of play with what magic tricks work
and what jokes work and what little gags work for younger kids and for
really
older kids.
How do you keep a kid engaged for 30 minutes when they're quarantined and it's you don't have that face-to-face communication, right? So that's and what we've done, we've been slowly transitioning into doing like medium-sized groups. So doing some private events, like Max has done some corporate happy hours. So this is just with adults, but he teaches all of the adults some magic tricks. And then with some school groups, and then just some groups of friends that want to see each other.
There was a family this past week that did like
you had
some cousins jumped in on the Zoom call. The grandparents were there to watch and play along, and the kids were, I was engaging with the kids, and that actually ran really great. It was probably 6 different households that were on that one.
But it's like, it's hard to, with the whole muting with Zoom, I don't know how teachers are doing it. Like, I really feel for the teachers trying to engage, because every kid wants to talk and they should have a moment to talk. But like, how do you choose? Normally in a classroom, right, you can point, but here it's, so we've been kind of growing to a place where next Sunday, Guildhall in East Hampton, we're partnering with them. So they're a presenter that has presented Max in the past. Every summer Max does they call it Kid Fest. And so Max's July show, we knew by April it was going to be canceled. So I had pitched the idea of, wait, why are we looking at ourselves?
I thought it was just better.
Max, we don't need to look at
I wish I could get one-on-one and one
a thing of ourselves.
Keep going.
So we're doing our first virtual Kid Fest with Guildhall, and it's going to be a pretty large group, but we're going to have featured assistants. So there are going to be 3 assistants that Max will interact with, but he'll be addressing the entire group. And we're going to try that model out, and we're going to see how it works. And then we've got a couple of larger groups that we're working on. And then even we're thinking of looking at summer camps right now and how we can integrate, because like you said, Z, right, we have to start planning and thinking about what June and July are going to look like. And everybody doesn't, so a lot of performing arts centers that we typically work with are all one by one committing and making decisions now in May if they're going to move forward with virtual camps, and a lot of them are. So I'm working with them now, which I might have stuff to talk to you guys about later. But a lot of these conversations that I'm having are, they're in fact sort of asking me what I think they should do because they don't know.
They don't know. They're struggling too.
Yeah, Never done this.
Which is where all of this content and work that you guys are doing with DIY crafts and stuff is all just going to pay off in spades if somebody wants to work and partner with you to do stuff, because they are desperate for ideas of what to do, and you can say, look, for the last 2 months we've been doing this. I somehow have like a 6-course syllabus of what I could teach children now, just because I've had kids that I've had 12 times now, and I'm like, what else do I teach a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old? Because the whole point of everything that I'm doing is stuff they can find around their house. So everything just from like $1 to some paper clips, rubber bands.
I still don't understand why you had matches.
Well, I'll tell you what. It did not involve lighting any fire, okay? But there was a part of me that did think it'd be very funny to have the kid go ask his parents for matches for magic.
Oh my God.
Oh, no. What if they said yes? What if they brought back some matches? Like, hey, I'm ready.
They'd be like, who's asking? The Amazing Max. Okay, fine. You can take the magic. Just take the magic. It's him. No, they're for little tricks where you need to like make shapes, you know, like little bar betches where you'd set it up in
I can't believe this is still going on.
Yeah. You know, little things where you'd not everybody has toothpicks, but everybody has some matches. But like you'd make something that's like a square or something, and you'd challenge somebody to move one of them and turn it into a square or something like that. So things that aren't even 100% magic, but little things that I can add in on top of the magic to be like, here's a little game you can challenge your brother to that he'll never get right, and you'll look like a genius. And then you can be like, nah, 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 boo, boo, I'm smarter than you, even though you're 13 and I'm 9.
Okay.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying?
So
Matches. Thank
for
you.
what you guys are doing with streaming your shows and with the DIYs, are you interacting this in other forms rather than just the comments? Are you integrating in some one-on-ones with Zoom or anything like that?
This is actually our first foray into Zoom. We've been presented by others who have brought us into Zoom chats. And we've done we've ran birthday parties in Zoom, which is a fascinating like enterprise of like like the timing is completely different about like attention spans, because everybody used to tell us when you do a live show in front of kids, oh man, well you got to do it like really quick because their attention spans are, you know, not very long. But then when we do a live show, you know, we could do it like a 45-minute show and they'll be amazed, right, that their kids would sit there the whole time. Now it's like back to like, oh my God, actually they won't sit there for that long for certain things like a workshop or something. So we've had to rethink the timing a little bit about like, just like, all right, they're watching a screen now, so you have to abide by screen attention span rules. So you got to be like, okay, dance party to workshop to this game to this tie-in to happy birthday, and you know, so we've had those considerations. We've other puppeteers have done really well by doing like live puppet chats, you know, especially in Zoom or with school groups and stuff. And our well, like our thing that has blossomed for us has been like telegrams, you know, where we record like a little video message, personalized with like different puppets, and we're going to shoot some probably after this. But yeah, no, it's always like
that's cool.
Like talking to other puppeteers, it's like, oh, what's really worked for you? Well, this worked for me, and it's almost like both of us want to get in on that, but like luck or fate or the market or forces or something or like dictating that.
But this week we're gonna try to focus more on doing private birthday parties, because I feel like that's an area that is going to continue to be a need for people, is how to make this special day feel special when we can't go and do any of the things that we normally would do. So we would like to be an option for people to be able to make that day special, because as of yet we haven't hosted a full birthday party ourselves where we would do the workshop and the show. And we've done parts of it, but like in terms of us doing like all the bits, all the things,
we did do one, but we have learned from the best.
Yes, so we're ready. I feel like we're ready now to like really push for doing more of that, then that would be a positive. So if you know anybody who has any kids, viewers at home, who would like us to be a part of their special day, send them our way, because we would love that.
Well,
You know, I have some, like, I've been thinking, like, for parties, Max has maybe done, we've been very careful.
We're not offering it on purpose.
We've been very careful with how we're offering it and sort of figuring out what works. But we learned really quickly that in setting the party, if you're setting the party, you should have your video off and have the parent welcome everybody. Because what we found is if Max was on first, then everybody's coming in and then you're kind of waiting for everybody to arrive. And it's very chaotic. So if you start doing, that would be like my pointer. I was talking with a good friend today who, she does princess parties, and it's just pretty chaotic. So it's like trying to find order and then almost putting it on the parent to just go over the Zoom etiquette, so that when you come on as the performer, you're sort of separating yourself, not as the teacher, but as the performer. So that's just sort of what we're thinking about with some of these events and some of these groups, to kind of give the parent that role.
That's smart. But we always double team when one of us is running the workshop or performance, the other one is moderating or being the host. But yeah,
that's great.
But for a party, like for a show, that makes sense. But for a party, it's I think that the host, and then the parent can feel at ease where they've welcomed everybody, they've confirmed that everyone's there, because what you were doing, he's like busy admitting people in. It's like, is everybody here? Is everybody? And then you've got that like thumbs up, because that's how a normal live party is.
True. That's smart.
Yeah, that is a good idea. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me know how it goes. We haven't tested it.
We haven't tested it. She came up with the idea today. I was like, that's brilliant, because I did something yesterday for 2 kids who are twins who were having a birthday, and we're not offering parties for the reason that it's really challenging. I don't know how you guys have found it, but I find it incredibly challenging to deal with 10 windows with kids all in them that are all our friends and want to talk to each other and should be able to talk to each other, kind of like in one aspect. Like that's what they're missing, is being able to talk to each other. And
but
so having to mute and unmute, and then one kid is just being a little dick kid, and he's like, I'm just gonna keep on muting myself and talking the whole time and ruin it for everybody and blah 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 blah. And it's like, at a certain point, you're juggling babysitting with doing what they've hired you to do to make everybody happy. And
I think it's about finding the balance. If you guys are incorporating the workshop, and you will find, I look forward to talking to you guys in 3 weeks, because by then you'll have figured it out, because that's the sort of time span that we're on right now. And by then, because people aren't booking, like, remember, like with live events, people would be booking out like months in advance. And people are like booking out days in advance.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh my God, my son's birthday is tomorrow. Please help me.
Right.
Yes.
Well, because everybody kept thinking, oh, well, it's going to be over by May. Well, now it'll definitely be over by June. And what I was saying to Chad is that, well, on a benefit, before our audience was New York City, now our audience is the country. We can have people from all over the country, but the trick is getting them to know that that's something that we do, that we offer, and that that's something that they want. So how are you guys connecting with your audiences during this time?
We are,
email.
Yeah, it's a lot of email. I would, a lot of email. We could be better on social.
When you send an email out, how often? Once every 2 weeks, I think you said?
Yeah.
Once every 2 weeks, we send out an updating email to our
But I think that
couple thousand person email list that would say, here's what's been going on. At this point, we've done this many lessons. You guys are awesome. We're figuring this out as we go. We've said that the whole time. we're figuring it out as we're going along. And we're so glad that you guys are enjoying all of this. Here's what's going to come next. Yeah, no, sorry, go ahead.
I would say that, but we've sort of been at capacity. So, you know, his lessons are so full. So before we got on this call, I was making a Google form that's like our waiting list, because now we have so many regulars and trying to fulfill all the group slots and not kill Matt's. I'm trying to figure out sort of the next step. So we have students in Finland, we have students in Kuwait, we have students in Mexico, in Curacao, in Canada. You know, it's just sort of unbelievable.
In New Jersey.
And and yes, New Jersey. And so I've never been this person. I've always been a strict, I want you to email me business, no texting. But I'm finding myself texting with a lot of parents who are just, you know, checking in on the status, and that's sort of the way they're communicating. So I put my cell phone number in my email, which sort of felt weird because I always felt like if it's not an email, then it's not real business. But everything has changed. I'm like corresponding with Instagram Messenger. I don't know about with you guys. How you're corresponding with people, but it's not all happening through email anymore, which
I think
feels
it's by any means possible, by whatever way people get to you.
I mean, that was kind of the trend before the outbreak. Was like I would field like a Facebook Messenger message and be like, okay, can you email me, please?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Always.
But
and then
it's just easier to organize your information and search your information. So it would always be like, okay, great, set it up through a text, and then please email me or fill out this form. You know,
right.
Now for us, it's like I teach a streaming workshop for puppeteers every Monday, and we've extended those because they've been very popular, because there's a lot of demand for this information. But so every Monday afternoon, I'm like, okay, I share with everyone 2 graphs, which is meant to like encourage everybody, you know, about like, you know, like talking about like when you monetize, when you ask for donations, this will be like your huge donation spike will be like your first week, and then it's gonna flatten out or plateau or just like have a huge chasm, and that's okay. So I update the graph every single week, so I'm able to like graph and show like, all right, this is like the ups and downs of like how we've been monetizing versus how many like private shows. And for us, it's been like seven weeks now. I think we're on 7 of like gaining interest in live shows, peaking at a certain point where we're doing 1 show every single day, which is crazy, and then going to another, like we're in like a big chasm right now. So right now we're like, the focus now is like, okay, drum up more live shows, you know, talk to more clients or more places, or figure that out so we can go skyrocket back up there. But the thing that I don't do, maybe I should do, is show how like we've had like this 45-degree angle of growth and just like social media likes and interest and like all the really positive things that's really come out of this is like having a social media presence. And Z was going through like anybody who's ever liked any of our stuff and inviting them to like our page through like the last years and years of our stuff. And so it's almost like even though there's like a dip, it's like you got to remind yourself like, okay, all right, so we got to work on this. We want to send us back up, but we also got to focus on like all the positive that's happened.
And we've definitely gained, I think, what is it, over 1,400 likes since March 1st.
Guys, that's incredible. That's
yay.
great.
So
That's
we're at
great.
like 2,600 likes and like 3,200 followers. So that's really good for us for Facebook. And then once Chad said I'm doing this thing where I'm going back through every single post we've ever done. And there's this function in Facebook where you can see who's liked a post. And then if they don't already like your page, you can invite them to like it. And so I've been going through and making sure that we've invited every single person possible, because
Great.
you can only invite so many friends. there's like a cap in terms of how many friends you can invite from your friend list. I think it's like 500, but there's no cap if somebody has liked a post that your page has put on. So so that's what we've been doing. And then once I'm done with that, my goal is to up our YouTube subscriber numbers as well, so that I'd love to get it to 1,000. That would be a great goal. We're at almost 300 now, I think.
Yeah.
So,
What stuff do you guys put up on YouTube?
Well, it's like every week I try out something new with streaming. Like I thought I had like multicam, multi-platform streaming licked, and then I tweaked a couple things, and suddenly like we didn't stream to YouTube directly last week. So, but I'm pretty sure I figured out what I did that messed it up. So I think we're good to go. But we put everything in there. We archive all of our workshops that we do. We can't simulcast to that because our performing partners are putting it out, and none of them all have this special software to do that. But we put it on after the fact, and then also we're supposed to stream live onto YouTube and Facebook at the same time, and it's like
on Fridays.
Yeah, on Fridays at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But it's like with the tech stuff, it's like it doesn't matter what you're using, like OBS or Ecamm or Minicam or like whatever. It's like every week or every time you do it's a new challenge or a new something, and every time it's like, oh man, it's like every stumbling block, it's like you learn a little bit more. And so by the end of, I don't know how long, but at a certain point we'll have figured it out. Like everything will be like Disney Dan or Adam Kurtinger or like Cam Garrity or the other puppeteer streamers out there that have been doing it for years.
We'll know a lot more. I mean, that's the joy and the stress of doing everything live. Almost everything we've been doing has been live, except for the puppet telegrams that Chad has been recording and sending. But that's special because then the child or the recipient, it might be an adult, can watch it as many times as they want, and it's a gift for them. But the nice thing about the live stuff is that because we used to do YouTube way back when YouTube first started, and none of it was live. It was all pre-recorded, but there was so much editing and time that went into that. Whereas doing it live, while it's stressful, it also takes out that component. There isn't a lot that has to be done in post.
You think that? Well,
but
no,
there's some.
Not as much.
There
is some.
But it's not as much. And then also what's nice is that every time we go live, which we have live content every day, it's like a little pop-up for people. And then somebody will discover us who hadn't seen us before each time that we do it. So that's why it's important to me that we do something every day live consistently.
Yeah, I think Facebook.
For YouTube?
What's that?
For YouTube, for Facebook.
For YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, it's like all these platforms prioritize in order of live video, picture, text, like that. So it's like the more live videos you can do, the better. The more like regular videos you do, the better. So it all kind of feeds into, like getting more interest, which is like what you always are searching for, is more interest, more likes, more subs, so that you can focus people to your monetized content, but also at the same time fulfilling your mission of giving children something to do, give your parents a break, so I feel like it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. So we're still figuring things out with that. We have one of our telegram purchasers, Julie Ross, says the telegrams are a perfect gift.
Thank you, Julie.
Yes, thank you, Julie. We really appreciate you so much. Hearts.
That's right.
Hearts.
That's right.
That's the little Japanese heart. I forgot about that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's say Asian heart.
Oh, Asian heart. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and I love hearing that you're going through Facebook and sort of looking individually, because when we started the Off-Broadway show, and actually even before that, so before we started producing the show, I was Miss Christine, and Max and I met at an event, like an event in Greenwich, not Greenwich, it was in Greenwich, Connecticut. And so I had my own Princess Entertainment company. So I had been working kind of in that world. So when we first started the show, I had my list from people that had booked princess parties, people that had booked parties with Miss Christine. And then Max, like when I came in the picture, you were collecting cash, you weren't doing contracts, you were handwriting events on Post-it notes. Like, I'm surprised you didn't miss a show. So I just started like gathering
taking deposits.
Yeah. So I just started gathering.
This was like in 2007.
Yeah. So that's when I started building our email list. And then after that, whenever Max did any private event, right? Because Facebook wasn't even a thing then. So we would bring our little shoebox where people would handwrite their email address and put it in the shoebox.
And we would do a raffle for like two tickets to the show.
And then so I collected, so in my MailChimp, I have segmented everybody that's seen Max do a free show. So like where you guys met us at Tribeca Family Festival, we would have like a little shoebox of people, and that's how we started collecting. So then I know to this day on our mailing list, I can see the filter of whether they saw us for free, whether they inquired for an event, whether they booked Max, or they came to a show. And I know how many times they've seen the show, and it's so important what you're doing, Z, because that's what builds the word of mouth. And that's really what gets the momentum going. So I like learning the new way to do it on social media, because I haven't even gotten there yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to find time for it a little bit each day to say like, well, what's the goal today, and then what's the goal this week? And then today we said, okay, well, the goal this week is birthday parties. So we need to be figuring out how can we let people know that this is a service that we offer, that it'll be really professional, and that it will feel special in this time where not a lot of things feel exciting and special. Especially I see a lot of people coming up with fun ideas for birthday parties outside of New York City. You drive by in your car, you put signs in your lawn, you write things on their sidewalk, like all sorts of fun things that are not as possible here. And so I really feel for the families who don't have access to that kind of stuff, like being able to do like a car parade down somebody's street, like that. We're in the same situation. We just had our 5-year-old son's birthday party on Saturday, and
I saw your cake. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nailed it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that morning he decided he wanted a piranha plant cake from Mario Brothers. So
cool.
Awesome.
Your son says that's what he wants, and there's nothing else that you can really get for him that day, then that is what you do, is you figure it out. And it's hard. I was definitely feeling a lot of, like we say in our family, big feelings about not being able to have a party for him, especially because he is so outgoing, and he's been talking about having his 5th birthday party for almost an entire year. And so I tried to really downplay it, not make a big deal out of it. We did what we could. We had some presents and we had some cake, but also in some ways it was just like any other day. In a lot of ways, because I didn't want to remind him about how different everything is right now. But he did get to have cake, and he did get to have some special things. And we made a group video of through VidHug, which is this app that people are using to send messages to people. And that was so special. We had, I think, about 45 different little video messages from friends and family of his, just saying happy birthday to him.
Oh, how great.
Yeah, it was super special. And so that was actually, I think, one of the nicest things that came out of it too, is getting to have that as a gift for him. Because we had family, we had friends, we had classmates. But all of that is to say that I can really relate to a parent's desire to want to make the day special and feeling like a little hopeless and helpless about it. Because any of the things that you were going to do feel completely out of reach. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can be an answer to some of those concerns. And so then the question is, how do we reach people to let them know?
Well,
And
that's number one. No, number two is like how are our potential clients doing financially that's different than before, so that we could figure out some kind of price point, because I always worry about that. A lot of puppeteers too, but like, is there an expectation that the price will be lower because you're not face to face, or is everyone just like getting, like, how's everyone getting by? Is everyone paying rent this month? Like, how are they going to afford the same like amount of money for services? So it's kind of like always like back and forth in my mind, like depending on how we're doing that week. If we're doing really well the week, I'm like, oh, all right, just this is what we charge. This is our standard fee. As soon as
Christine, your thoughts?
go down, it's like,
Well, no. I mean, I felt the exact same way, because we went through, when we set our price, I can relate to this on two levels and sort of say what we've done, because I made some choices this weekend. So when we decided to do lessons, we decided on $35 for 30 minutes because we felt like that seemed fair. That typically Max's rate would be like $100 an hour, $200, somewhere in that vein, for him to do a lesson in person. So then, so I put, it's $35 special rate, $50 regular.
We wanted to be accessible for everybody.
Yeah, and wanted to be accessible. And then I just started getting a lot of parents emailing me saying, you need to raise your rates. And it was like, okay, we will. And I, because we still were building up the momentum. Max was building up his programming. So then on Friday, I made the choice to go up to 50. And then I sent an email to all of our regular students and said that you guys are locked into 35, but if you would, I said, but we're being very sensitive to the reality. So number one, if you are in a financial situation, please reach out to me, because we first want to acknowledge that. And we created Max Cares, which is through Fractured Atlas. We're fiscally sponsored. So we've had many people giving us donations to help those in need. And so anyone that's having COVID issues, I most certainly could use some of those funds to subsidize it. And then the second point was, I said, and if you are in a position where you'd like to give more, so there have already been some parents that have reached out and said, can you bill me for this amount of money every week? So I think that, and I felt like literally, I wrote that email this morning and it took me 3 hours because I just kept going back and forth.
Like, how are you going to phrase it?
So I can forward that email to you because that might help you, because it's so challenging. And then when it came to figuring out how to do these groups, I'm like, do I charge a flat rate? Do I charge per person? And so I started by charging per person because I felt that would encourage people to have smaller groups. Which work better, frankly, for something like a party. So then now I'm sort of still riding on the per person model. And then the more people
per household.
Per household. Yeah, actually, we should clarify. It's per household.
Right.
Per camera.
Because so you can't help siblings. You should, like that, it's too messy. And I don't want to count like heads. So I just think that 3 per household is a fair number. Anything more,
But if you got a 4th kid, it's a no-go.
So 5 is right out.
Yeah. So we are nowhere near what Max's normal live rate is, right. But we are, figuring it out. So that sort of answers, but we're in the same boat. Yeah. And I think that artists fight so hard. This is the agent in me now talking. That artists fight so hard for payment. Like, now isn't the time. We're all charities at this point.
All artists are.
All artists are charities.
We're all struggling.
12 to 18 months, 2 years. I mean, I read an article. I don't want to go down the negative path again, but it's like I'm reading articles that are saying it might be 2 years. Right. So that's
before people go to the theater.
Yes. I mean, all of those things. So So we are in that category now. And I think that there's a way that we can transparently talk to our clients and figure out a way. I mean, of course, then I start worrying about people that I think might take advantage, and like, you want to think that people won't do that, but you know. So yeah, I think that I want artists to, if you're not making your full live rate, because you do take into consideration that you're not traveling, you know, there's like some of that overhead that's cut off, but you also shouldn't do it for pennies.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're just trying to figure out how to connect, you know, and to do our jobs. You know, some people get to continue to do their jobs, and we would like to be able to continue to do our jobs. And while I am so lucky that I do have another job besides the puppetry company. You know, it's still within puppetry. I manage a foundation for puppeteers, but you know, I'm very much thinking about our fellow puppeteers all the time, and that's half of our income. You know, it's not all of our income, and so
You guys are doing. I mean, guys, you're doing such a great job. You really, truly are, because I mean, to just jump in and to be doing this, I know that a lot of artists are scared, and I get all of that, but you guys, you just jumped in, and you're just trying, and you keep trying, and some things don't work, but so much of it is working. And it is, of course, putting it out there, but it's all word of mouth. You know, you make one kid happy, and then you have 9 potential clients.
yeah.
And
Thank you.
That's good to hear tonight.
Yeah. No,
That was a
you're
hard
doing
thing. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but some days I'm just like, I literally can't work. I don't feel like doing anything today, and I'm just gonna sit on the couch in an awkward position until my back hurts, because,
Yep.
because it's like that's what's happening today, you know.
Well, I think also you missed performing. You know, we didn't perform as much this week. We had a couple shows, but it's not like it was. Like, Chad, before the pandemic, you were performing almost
A
every
lot.
single day. And
it feels good. It's like a little endorphin rush now when I perform. It's like, ooh, yeah, here we go, you know. And like,
Absolutely.
I have technical skills. Look at this. I'm gonna make every moment count. And you know, and you're not getting that like all the time. It's like, it's it's tough.
Well, that's why when we first started doing this, and we were talking about, okay, well, we could start you doing the workshops at the beginning, but then we can have our performing partners do the workshops all the time because you're busy. And I was like, no, don't take it away from me. I need it too. I'm a performer, and I know that I'm busy, but I like, even though I'm not performing the shows because I have a hard time memorizing the shows right now. I used to perform with Chad. Before we had both kids, we were performing together all the time. And then since having the kids, memorizing the show and feeling as confident as I used to is like, that is a dedicated amount of time that I would have to set aside for that. But hosting a workshop and coming up with fun ideas off of Pinterest, that is my happy place. I could do that every single day. So now we have themes, which is so exciting. That's our new thing. This past week we had superhero week for our puppet DIYs, and this next week is going to be mythical creatures, which is super exciting.
Cool.
Yeah, and how to make them.
it's like you guys are like figuring, it's like what I'm hearing is that the things that you kind of thrive in, and if you can keep that momentum going, right? I mean, it's Chad's got to be performing and you've got to be creating.
Yeah, and it's not, we share the load. We have 3 other performing partners that are doing it with us. So we have Christina, and we have Jenny, and we have Julia, and they're all doing some of the DIY workshops as well. But I can't not do some of it. I have to. It's just part of who I am. And it
Fun.
also, I want people to see me,
Yes.
I'm part of things too, guys. So even though I'm not performing the puppet shows right now, if this goes on long enough, just you wait.
I'm sort of the background when Max is doing lessons. He had this adorable kid who he said to you, Max, you are the best magic person I have ever met in my life. Aww. And I just burst out laughing. And the little
from the other room.
And the little boy goes, why is that person laughing? He said, oh, that's my wife, Christine. She's just laughing because she thinks that you're being so nice. 5 to 10 minutes later, this little boy just goes, amazing, Max. Will you tell your wife that she shouldn't be laughing? You shouldn't laugh when people say nice things about you.
I just looked over my shoulder like,
You
hear that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
But no, it's, yes, definitely give you the jokes or he had another boy this week. At the end of every session, he says, ask me anything. And so this boy, just 11-year-old boy too, he goes, how do girls brush their teeth? And Max said, with their fingers. And I just yelled out, that's not true.
He said, how do gorillas brush their teeth?
Oh, I thought he said girls. Oh, now
That's why I was wondering why you thought that was a weird answer. Like, haven't you ever seen a gorilla brush their teeth?
I thought he said girls. And now that makes more sense.
I wouldn't have said with their finger.
I was insulted. I was like, why would you say that a girl would brush her teeth with her finger?
Would you brush their teeth with dirt?
Maybe he had like a New York City accent. He's like, how do goyles brush
How do gorillas brush their teeth? Up in the Bronx Zoo, a gorilla. He's like,
Do you have more boys taking your workshop than girls, would you say?
No.
We have a lot of girls.
I would say it's a really wonderful 50-50.
No,
That's
I
great.
think
Oh, wow.
I think 60-40.
Still, it's not enough that I could lean one way or the other and say like it's like a landslide boys. No, by no means.
So one of his more accomplished magic students is Excellent Elizabeth, who is from Findlay, Ohio. We met her when Max was touring in Findlay, Ohio.
At the Marathon Performing Arts Center.
Yes, and that was in February, so not that long ago, February 1st of 2020. And she is the town magician.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Bring out the town magician! Bring her out! No, she's a young
She's a
teenager.
7th grader. So she
loves magic.
She loves magic. She
Oh.
has her sequin vest, and she's got all of her magic gear. And she was doing the pre-show in the lobby before the Amazing Max.
Yeah, she was doing little 5-10 minute shows for the kids.
Yeah.
With a little raccoon puppet.
Yeah.
And it was really charming and wonderful. And we were talking after the show, and Ohio actually has a really wonderful history of magic.
Really?
I don't know if that would be surprising at all to anyone, but yeah, there's some wonderful magicians that have come from and live in Ohio. And there's a big festival every year called Columbus Magic Fest, where certainly anybody in the Midwest region, in the Ohio region, could get over there very easily. So she said she's been to that a whole bunch every year.
So she wants to get better with her close-up magic. She does mostly illusions. So she's working with Max, Excellent Elizabeth, working with Max weekly on her magic. And she just did her first Facebook Live. She did a virtual 15-minute Facebook Live the other day, and she did a pretty good job.
She's going to be so embarrassed when I tell her that we're talking about her.
I'm so excited. I love magic. I don't understand it at all, but that makes me the perfect audience member because I'm always impressed about everything. And I'm like, shut up. No way about everything.
Good.
I just think it's all amazing. And And I love when women are interested in magic. I wish that there were more women whose names I could just come up with off the top of my head and say like, oh, that's a woman magician and that's a female magician. And I actually, a couple years ago, I watched a couple of documentaries about young magicians. One was about the Magic Castle, and they were bringing up these younger magicians and training them at the castle. Because that's my dream, is to go to the Magic Castle. And Tim Glass.
We'll go. We'll all go.
We'll go. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yay.
All right, good. And then my the other one was about the Bryn Mawr Magic Camp.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah, they have a magic camp every summer at Bryn Mawr. And, you know, my teenage inner child was like, oh, I wish I could go to the magic camp.
Wait, can we tell you a fun fact, magic fun fact?
Yeah.
We live, so we didn't know this when we moved to where we live, but around the corner from us is Houdini's house, where Houdini lived in New York City. So we feel like super magical that we're on the Houdini block.
That's cool.
That's so awesome. Wow.
Walking my dog by one day, and I looked up, and there was like a plaque, and I squinted, and I was like, bullshit. I was like, no.
Wait, hold on a second.
It said like,
what's the time mark on that?
I don't know. I have to edit this out of the podcast.
Oh, no.
We didn't
Cause
talk about
work for Chad. Because we're not explicit, Max.
oh, sorry.
No, it's all right.
I was like, no way.
That's hilarious. I mean, how many times?
I know, I was flabbergasted. I was floored.
So
Are you really into magic history? Is that something that you're
Absolutely. I love magic history. Aren't you into puppet history?
Of course.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So
Same
much.
thing. I'm fascinated by it. I love it. I love it.
You know a good amount of magic history too.
I take pride in it. I love it. I love it.
And so
there's a lot to learn from it, as I'm sure there's a lot to learn from puppet history.
So what we found out, so Houdini lived through the Spanish flu, and like kind of later in his life, he was known for really working hard to recruit new young magicians into the field. So in this sort of parallel way, somebody pointed out to us, it's sort of like what we're doing now, kind of accidentally, right? Recruiting a new wave of magicians.
I didn't know that. I mean, yeah, I read Houdini's, I think, autobiography. Very complicated guy, very like beloved by people who didn't really know him well, I think. And then, but then like once you get to know him like a little bit, I mean, the type of celebrity that he was didn't really exist until and like he was like kind of the first of his kind. It's like a walk.
He was a superhero, man.
Yeah.
He was a superhero. Just the idea of that, more than magic, he was able to escape from anything. Think about that as a metaphor. You know, he can break free of anything. No, the posters would say nothing on earth can hold Houdini, and that's as much as a superhero as you had then. He was a real life superhero, and build it as such. It was quite a special thing. He was people's hero. He was their hero. Name? Eric Weiss.
Eric Weiss.
Yeah, the name of the magicians that he based his last name on with like the Houdin or Houdin?
Yeah, Robert Houdin. Yeah, Houdin. Robert Houdin.
Like kind of like adopting into magic history a little bit.
Exactly. Robert Houdin was amazing in his own right. There's many, many incredible stories about Robert Houdin. Robert Houdin stopped a war using magic one time. Go ahead.
Amazing.
No, I can't top what you just said. He stopped a war?
Yeah, he stopped a war.
How is that possible?
Oh man, I'm gonna get the story wrong.
If you're making
it was an African war. Man, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna totally butcher this. Hold on.
Fake news. It could be fake news.
He told some African warlord, or told these guys told someone that he couldn't be hurt by their bullets. And he handed them their guns, and they fired them at him. And he held out his hand and dropped the bullets onto the ground. And people, the guys were freaked out. They thought it was supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And it froze conflict. It froze the conflict.
Awesome.
I can't even wrap my brain around that. Well, I came home, I don't know, who knows, this could have been 2 years ago, and there was all this like wood, like gross old wood laying in the middle of my floor. And I just was like, Max, what is this? He's like, they were doing construction at the Houdini house, and I wanted to just get a little bit of wood from the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The house is since sold. It's like been divided. It's obviously divided up into apartments, but we have heard from people that have lived in the house that there are sort of secret compartments and sort of special things. So
That's so cool.
There's
Oh.
like secret puppet history to the city, but it's kind of like some of it is like, I feel like it's more obscure. Like there aren't any plaques to any puppeteers around the city.
Well, the coolest thing was kind of covered up, which was on 67th Street. The Henson Workshop used to be there on East 67th Street, and you could see Kermit's feet in the cement right outside of the doorway of where the puppet shop used to be. And then recently they've extended that doorway so that half of the feet are covered. So you just see his heels. now. I know. I can't believe they did that. And when they were doing the construction, I remember passing by one day and I said to the guys, the construction guys, I was like, you can't cover these up. These are important puppet history. I don't even know if they spoke English. They were just like, crazy lady,
they were like,
go.
we put these boards over here. I don't know what.
Yeah, the Fox News building is not right there, but like right next door to there. But there's like other stuff, like there's a lot of like Yiddish puppet theater in the city that like don't exist, like the dedicated Mummenschanz puppet theater, and all these other puppet theaters that were just strictly physical buildings for puppet theater have come and gone. And it's like, unless you see it as like a little factoid in some of those like screens that are up around the city, like you will never know that all this stuff happened.
Well, one of the things I always wanted to do was to create a walking tour of where the places used to be, because we have the addresses of like Bill Baird's old theater and Tony Sarg's workshop and all of these things. But
the Stephen Wiederman double marionette bridge basement in Union Square
theater. And Johnny Clockwork's old theater, and there's definitely history, but none of those spaces would look like what they were. I don't know. So it would just be like, well, that was there. Now it's not.
Imagine there are no photos or recordings of any kind. But it was there, we swear.
Well, but there's bits that, like, where were we in Seattle? There was a great Henson exhibit.
At the Mopac Pop Culture Museum, or whatever it's called. Yeah, Museum of Popular Culture.
Yes, that's it. Yes, that was a touring exhibit through Museum of the Moving Image. So that exhibit tours to different museums throughout the country. And right now it's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then it'll be going on to other museums.
Yeah, Z probably worked on
Mopop.
that.
Mopop is that name.
Mopop, yeah.
Oh.
I liked seeing the early puppets he did for those black and white TV shows. That was really cool.
Oh, yeah. Actually, someday when we can go back to the Museum of the Moving Image, they have a great exhibit of all of his early stuff for Wilkins and Wontkins and all of the early sketch comedy stuff that he was doing for those commercial bits.
So great.
Yeah, the archivist, Karen Falk, she was actually watching this for a little bit earlier. If you're still watching, hi, Karen.
Hey, Karen.
She's the archivist for the Jim Henson Company, and she has done so much work with her assistant, Susie Tofty, to put together all those exhibits, and they're just awesome.
Yo, speaking of puppet history, Nick Coppola just joined. What's up, Nick?
Oh, yeah. So Nick was the owner of Puppet Works in Brooklyn, but then also brought puppetry to Macy's. And so the puppet shows used to be at Macy's at Christmas time. When you would go see Santa, you would also see a puppet show that was Nick Coppola's company. So.
For years and years until the person in charge of that space, which was a closet space, and not a closet, but it was like
backstage.
yeah, like you wouldn't see it in like the normal store. It was like storage that they would kind of take over. That person decided, no, actually, I want to put some stuff there this year. So that was it. And the end of the 40-year tradition.
It was long. Yeah.
It was like almost, it was like decades and decades of like, yeah, we go to see Santa and we go to see this amazing puppet show, which they would perform 8 times a day.
Wow, that's so exhausting. Wow.
No more.
I know.
Never, like it never existed.
I almost feel like when things are back to normal, it would be nice to petition Macy's to bring that back as like a nice little thing, you know, maybe that they would be willing, since everything was gone, you know, to bring people back in. But who knows? Who knows?
Man.
Simpler times.
You know what you're reminding me of, Z, and being a planner, is that we need to get a new air conditioner unit. And my friend today, he said, you better order that now, because with the delay of everything before it starts getting really hot. So you should get on that, because you'll be miserable if it's hot in here.
Yeah, let's get some AC.
You know what I want to do is bring our ACs to our friend's house a few blocks away and clean them because they're gross.
Right.
Yeah, clean them at your friend's house. Don't do it at your house.
Well, we don't have a hose. Like, how would we clean it? You know?
Yeah.
I'd throw it away and get a new one, probably.
We've been awful, but like, because we're on the first floor, all of the apartments above us drip into ours, and it just always smells like mildew by the end of the summer.
Yeah.
So we've just like understood that we're going to spend $200 on a unit that's going to probably be disposable at the end of the summer, because it just gets so bad.
Yep. So parenting calls. Z has abandoned her post because there's a knock on the door. Their 7-year-old is still awake, even though it's 10:30.
Sounds like a cue.
But he's been doing really great. We instituted this new thing about like motivating him to exercise and like have a better attitude. I mean, we all need better attitudes, right? But yeah, we have like a chart, like a monthly chart now, which is like, okay, if you do these things every day for a month, you know, then you'll get something that you actually really wanted. So I don't know how long it's gonna last, because these things like never last. Then you change it into the next thing. But we're hoping, fingers crossed, that it's gonna last at least like, I don't know, a couple weeks.
How's it been going?
I mean, we're on day 2 and it's great. It's like allowance. Like we had an allowance system, but then and they're really motivated for money. Like, okay, great, because they're saving up for those gumballs, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
On the street, you know, like 25 cents.
Yeah. What could they possibly need money for? Yeah, absolutely. But the concept of it is like, we must have it.
Yeah. No, I mean, like ice cream sandwiches after ice skating was like I was like, sorry guys, I only have $1. I'd be like, oh, I should have brought my quarters, you know. But no, it didn't last. It was only motivated for a certain amount of time. Now we're back to square one. So we'll see. I mean, like every chart that every parent has ever put up, I'm sure it was, you know, you have to keep in mind that like, all right, this is only temporary. This is only going to give you what you want, which is like sanity for a certain amount of time. Then you have to figure out like, all right, what's next? So we'll see. I don't know. Z's gone, but I feel like we've been going for an hour and a half, which is great for a podcast.
I know. We probably should wrap it up here. We're having too much fun. You know what it is? Yeah. It's having 4 people talking.
Yeah. Double the length.
Woo!
Yes.
Indeed.
How's your child?
I have to go tuck in our son, so because he needs that. He's 7 and he's still awake.
This is real life.
This is a perfect ending to a lovely hour and a half.
Yes.
Yay! Thanks so much for joining us, Christine.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's double date. Let's double date podcast Facebook Live again soon.
Yeah, and so
bye everybody.
If you're out there, if you watched this and you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I'm sure you're either watching on Max's page or on our page, but please cross-pollinate. Let's join our communities and join forces and let's spread some art, because if you're not quite into magic yet, or not quite into puppetry yet, like, check out what both communities have to offer. There's so many amazing people in the arts, let's say, throughout the internet right now, like, that are streaming stuff and that are really trying hard, just like Max and us, not just to make a buck, but just also like to keep ourselves sane and creating stuff, because our livelihood as artists is just completely disrupted. And we're on day 51. Yay.
And can I add one thing? And also, what we're doing is helping out a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
A lot of kids that are cooped up and need a laugh, or a lot of parents that need their kids to be distracted for 30 minutes or something fun to do. And there's a lot of people far worse off than you and the two of you and the two of us, and that we're able to do this even a little bit and support ourselves and give back at the same time is awesome. And so I've been waiting for this whole podcast to tell you, Z, I haven't told you, I am secretly obsessed with puppets. So I'm completely open to going to the Eugene O'Neill Puppet Festival.
Yay.
I love the idea. I've always wanted to have a puppet sidekick and an alter ego, and to play with puppets. So
maybe this is another fun thing that emerges out of this.
Absolutely.
Her love for magic, your love for puppetry. There's
I'm going to give
there.
your puppets some matches, and you guys help me make a puppet.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to teach Max some puppetry.
I can't wait to learn it.
Yes.
Yay. And then you can teach me some magic.
In a heartbeat.
This girl. We went and saw a mentalist once, and he had this big setup, and he's like, okay, and he's standing behind the like all these boxes, and you gave him your ring, and he's like, yes, I'm holding your ring in this hand. And I'm like, all right, in my mind, like, I know two things about magic. It's not in this hand, right? And so of course it's in like the inside a box. And she's like, how is this possible? So if she learns any fundamental magic, I'll be so proud of this little lady.
That's the thing. Actually, maybe I don't want to learn it, because I love.
You're gonna learn it.
I love experiencing it. I'm the best audience member, I think, because
there's a lot of things that Max does that I still don't know how they work. I mean, I sign off on all the bills, and when he says he needs to get things, I do question, more and more I do question certain things, but
What?
It's magic. It makes me so happy. See? Yes. Awesome.
No.
Can't do any of it. Don't understand it. Love it.
You can still love it and then know how he's doing it.
True.
Right.
That's true. Yes. All right. So we'll trade.
We need to do some sort of, okay. Actually, maybe
we should say our goodnights.
Yes, we should say our goodnights. We'll have more offline and online conversations.
That's right.
Thank you to everybody. I think my mom might still be listening, so hello to my mom. There's a couple people here.
And thanks for having us on your podcast, guys.
This
was really fun.
Take care, guys.
We'll have to do more. Okay.
Good night, Facebook.
Bye.
Bye. Hold on.